All right, there it is. Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to this week in Bitcoin. Today is October the 12th. 2018. Strong hand, long-term thinking, unconfiscatable. All right, so this is an unprecedented freaking show. We've got three Gabriels on. I linked to all their pertinent links below. Everything talked about in this show is linked to below, okay? But we got Gabriel Divine. We got Gabriel in Venezuela. And we got Fort Galt Gabriel in Chile. But he's originally from British Columbia. So let's just start this baby out because there have been a lot of big stories this week, and people are always asking me, well, what's up with this Tether thing? Why is there a price difference between Bitfinex and Bitstamp? I'm worried. I'm scared. And before the show, I was telling Gabriel in Chile, Fort Galt Gabriel, you know what? Every week, this week in Bitcoin is the same for me. It's a battle against the forces of FUD versus the forces of just having a strong hand and staying on the straight and narrow path and not getting distracted by all of this stuff. But every week there's a new distracting type of story that people try to blow out of proportion. So we're here to just rip it apart. We're here to show you that, Bitfinex, Tether, don't worry about it too much. So Gabriel Divine, what's your take on all of this? Price differentials between exchanges, Tether going down the tubes. What do you have to say?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Tether is one of those stories. Okay, Tether is, I'm trying to remember the term that Blockstream actually used for it, which I had never heard before, but I call it a backed asset. This is actually the digital version of what we used to have in the West, which was gold-backed fiat currencies, where you would have to trust the central bank to hold the gold. That whole system actually stopped in 1971 when Nixon took the United States off the gold standard completely, and now we have totally imaginary money. Whereas before it was tied and then sort of semi-tied to gold holdings. So this is like a backed asset or tied asset. I can't remember if anyone in the chat, feel free to find that Blockstream term that they came up with. But basically the idea is you're issuing a digital representation of something in the real world. It's a trust relationship between the physical asset and the digital asset. So in that case, it's far less secure than something like Bitcoin, which you absolutely have to expend the effort in order to create Bitcoin. That's the mining process. These backed assets, you have to trust the person that they're actually holding what they say they're holding in their vault, or that they'll actually give you, just like you had to trust the U.S. government to give you X amount of silver or X amount of gold when you came and said, "Hi, I have 50 Federal Reserve notes. Now pay me, X ounces of gold for it." And they actually did that. If you went for it, you could actually get that up until 1971. So we've got the situation where Bitfinex, for convenience sake, created a backed asset, which they say is backed by United States dollars in bank accounts somewhere. It's a security issue for them to reveal the location of the dollars, just like it's a security issue for somebody to reveal where gold is in a vault. Even if they have it secured, you kind of don't want everyone to know exactly where everything is. And so that really, that doesn't speak well. And that's why Bitcoin is so amazing. It's the first digital asset that had an intrinsic setup which required work to be done in order to create it, rather than this trust relationship. So Tether is a trusted asset. It's totally centralized. Everyone has to trust that it exists, but centralized things work until they don't. And so right. So the traders trust that Bitfinex is holding this $1 billion or so. And they basically, as traders buy and sell their dollar Tether, digital quote unquote coin, Bitfinex is supposed to sell and buy dollars in proportion to it. And, they maybe take a small fee. Basically, you're probably paying a fee when you buy the Tether a little bit. And that way they can maybe turn a slight profit or at least break even on their whole situation. Or maybe they're basically, they don't charge any fees and they just pull off a bit of interest on their fiat holdings, and they don't share that with other people. So that way, for the risk that they take setting this thing up, they can turn a little profit or at least break even, and then provide this digitally liquid asset, which is of course far more convenient than moving actual fiat around in this sort of trusted banking system. So that's what Tether is.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You've given a great description of Tether. So if it happened to go down the tubes, what would it really mean for Bitcoin? What would it mean? What one of your, I mean, you still have your Bitcoin, right? I mean, this is the part I don't get about it. I think there's too much focus on the trading world in the mainstream media of Bitcoin, at least. If Tether goes away, we're still gonna have Bitcoin. What's the big deal for me, at least?
Obviously it has absolutely no bearing on the basis of Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself is completely unaffected by it. But of course, the media likes to focus on exchanges because they are that friction point. They are that relationship point between old finance and the real digital system that is now growing and building up. Basically, it can have a pretty strong temporary effect on certainly the trading markets, maybe temporary effect, dislocations in price. Traders would be inconvenienced, exchanges could be inconvenienced. There would be like a little bit of what you might call, let's say, a small amount of disorder during the transition. But of course, there's 2 or 3 other companies that have already announced that they're going to be launching these dollar-pegged digital assets as well, basically trusted centralized assets. So there'll be essentially exactly the same thing as Tether. And so it'll have competition coins. And I think that'll help a lot to diversify the trust away from Bitfinex. But these are just trading tools. They don't actually affect the digital basis of Bitcoin at all.
Well, I got to say one thing. My stable coin is Bitcoin. Pound that freaking like button, people. 1 Bitcoin still equals 1 Bitcoin. Gabriel Shear, what do you think? I mean, is this all crypto noise, or do you have a say on all this?
To me, yeah. I mean, I first started thinking about this a couple years ago when Steam, introduced their Steam-based dollar, and that was useful in the sense that it spurred up a lot of this conversation about what is a stable coin, is it even possible, and ultimately that goes back down to what is the nature of value when it comes to currencies. And I mean, you can't avoid the fact that all value is subjective. There is no such thing as a truly intrinsically valuable coin, no matter what's backing it, because at the end of the day, any commodity that you back it with is just a commodity that has a value in the marketplace that fluctuates. So supply and demand is always going to rule the value of your so-called stable coin, and pegging it to the dollar. I mean, that's widening your footprint essentially when it comes to stability. Like if you're trying to walk in snow, you want to have as wide a footprint as possible to be more relatively stable. So the more assets you can incorporate into your basket of goods that backs your stable coin, the more your footprint is spread out. So you're in Chile right now, and the Chilean peso actually has a mechanism like this called the UF. And it's sort of an alternative currency that Chileans use predominantly in larger dollar value marketplaces like real estate and such. The idea is that it's an alternative to the peso that's more stable and doesn't inflate, because it's backed by this basket of goods, all these different commodities that are supposed to provide stability. So it is more stable than the conventional peso, but it's still not perfect. I mean, there's no way to make it perfect. It's just better than. So ultimately, Tether, all these other different stable coins that come along are just going to be competing as to who can be a little bit better than the previous one or the next one. And if one becomes more popular than the others, then the speculators jump in and throw the value up the other way. So, I mean, there's no solving this problem. So I personally am not that interested in it. Personally, like if I'm going to use cryptos, I just go to Bitcoin, you know, unless I need some other attribute that another coin offers. Like if I need extra privacy, okay, maybe I'll use some Monero for a particular transaction. Or if I need more speed, then maybe I'll use some Bcash or some Litecoin or something.
Yeah. I mean, this is for the traders and everything. I just wanted to reiterate that, hey, if you're keeping a lot of wealth on exchanges or in Tether, I mean, you're a mad person at this point. You're a mad person. And it's just a reminder, if Tether goes down the tubes, if an exchange blows up, it doesn't affect Bitcoin's Bitcoin. It's not going to bring down Bitcoin. It's not the end of the world. You got to have a strong hand. Let's go to Venezuela here, the man of the hour. So you can tell it. I mean, you can give us your thoughts on this Tether situation. But what everybody wants to hear about is the petro in Venezuela and what is going on with you and Monkey Coin and everything. So Gabriel in Venezuela, take it away, baby.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me here. I'm gonna try to do this in order. Okay, so the first things I want to let you know is that the 20th of August, the Venezuelan government decided to change their fiat currency for a new one. I bet most everyone knows about this. It used to be the Bolívar Fuerte, and now it's called the Bolívar Soberano, which is the same thing with 5 zeros less, okay? So when we used to have 1 million Bolívares, now we have 10 Bolívares. That's pretty much it. So on the 1st of October, let me continue. The president came out and said, okay, now we have the petro. We're gonna do the announcement, and starting today, it's gonna start working, okay? That's what he said the 1st of October. He presented this new web page. He presented a new white paper, which seems, at first sight, seems a bit better than what they presented the 2 times before, okay? In February and then in June. What these guys are saying is that they're gonna do some sort of fork of Dash. So they're gonna use the X11 algorithm, and they're gonna have, like master nodes, and it could work, it could work. It looks by the writing of the white paper that this time the government at least hired somebody that knows a little bit more, right? But what happened is that he said, okay, we're gonna have petro starting today, and then we don't have petro yet still. So what it's being used right now is pretty much as a unit of account at first. So salaries are being based in petros, and also controlled prices of goods are being price tagged in petro. So for the moment, nobody has petro, but it's being used as a unit of account, which is at least is something, right? But it's not what we're expecting. It's not what we expect actually to use this currency that they allegedly are creating, but we don't have it yet. So like 3 days later, after the 1st of October, the president tweeted that on the 5th of November, we will have petro running. That's what he said. I actually don't believe much that this date will actually serve the purpose. I think it's just, just trying to say, yeah, we will have it someday in the future. And they put a date, and then on that day, they just say something, and that's it. And then until the next time. So this problem of the petro is very big for Venezuela, and is very big also for the United States. Because as you know, the Venezuelan guys are allied with the enemies of the United States, which are Russia, China, and Turkey, basically. These 3 countries are supporting Venezuela 100%. Even so, the president went on to China just 1 or 2 weeks ago, and he got a $5 billion loan just to continue on working, So, and these sanctions that the U.S. imposed on Venezuela are like a double-sided knife, right? Because if Venezuela actually goes on with their plans and it works, it could work, but we don't know if they will execute it correctly. But if it works, this will mean that the United States have no longer the power to bully people around with the dollar, or at least this power is being diminished, okay? And the other thing is it could mean that all the other countries could look at Venezuela as an example and say, look, if these guys created their own coin and it's working, okay, it's not working yet, but let's say in 6 months from now, and it actually works, then this will be a great example for the world, because just as we need to secure our money from the government, right? Also, governments need to secure money from other governments. So it's a war. It's a war going on. It's the old system versus the new system, and it's the fiat system versus crypto. And I think in the long run, most definitely, crypto is going to win. I think in the near future, all fiat will be tokenized. You know, there's a big hype right now about Tether and all this. And what has been going on? If you notice, there has been many new companies trying to issue their own US dollar token, right? And if it's not US dollar, some other guys do a Japanese yen token, and some other guys do a European token. So this is a trend. It's just starting, the way I see it. It started 6 to 9 months ago, and it's consolidating now. And I think by 2019 and 2020, most countries will have their own fiat currency, but on blockchain, if you might say.
I've got a question here, and I think I heard this. Are they going to allow, or is the government saying that you will be able to exchange your bolivars for petro at any point? If there'll be a one-to-one exchange or anything like that?
Yes, this should be the way to put it to work. If Venezuelans are able and allowed by the government to purchase this petro with bolívares, I think the plan will work. The problem, there's many problems. One problem is that the Venezuelan government, they don't have an exchange of their own, right? They should have one, but they don't. There's a few new exchanges in Venezuela, and none of them, of course, none of them have petro, but we will think that these exchanges will have it. This will be the secondary market. The government tries to make this plan. They have this treasury for cryptocurrency, and they will keep allegedly 51% of the petro, and they will sell the petro to people. And as I believe, they will pay in the future. They will start paying their workers. You know, there's like well over 3 million people that work for the government. They will start paying in petro in the near future. That's what I think it's going to happen. So this is going to be the way that they actually distribute it. And then it will go to the secondary market, which will be all exchanges and all that.
All right. Hey, other panel members, do you have any questions for Gabriel about Venezuela?
No, I have a friend from there staying with me right now, and he's been filling my head with all these horror stories. And I'm just, man, I just feel so grateful that he was able to get out without too many problems. But he has friends back there, and I totally sympathize with the situation. It can't be easy just to get by from day to day.
Yeah,
I think one big takeaway from what Gabriel just said, there is no petro yet. It will be based on Dash if it exists, but it does not exist yet. And this is a huge, I mean, this is the elephant in the room. If it doesn't exist, they're not going to be able to get around sanctions. They're not going to be able to prove that, a country's crypto is better than the US dollar. So there's just a lot of stories about the Venezuelan petro. And for something that doesn't exist, it's got a lot of stories about it. I'll say that. But here's a guy on the ground. It's not there yet.
It's a big hype. Also here in Venezuela, there's high expectations. Actually, the other day I did a poll and people voted, and like 44% of the people think it's 100% scam, right? And then interestingly, 22% of the people actually love the idea, and then like 24% like the idea, but they have doubts. And then 12% of the people just don't trust the team, the developing team. So there's openness, you might say, about people are expecting it, and we wait for it to see if it will really work. And if I might add about what Gabriel said, although there is big problems here in Venezuela, I must say it's not like people are dying on the street starving. Okay, it's not like that. If you watch videos about Venezuelan news and you look at the people behind walking, their people are fat, you know? It's not like everybody is starving. It's just a percentage of the population that sadly, they don't have enough skills or enough money or enough education, and they get lost without a job, you know, and there's so much crime. There's bad things going on, but it's not like 100% of the people are starving, you know? It's just like a minority of the people. And you see on the streets, there is food on the markets. If you go to a supermarket, it has food. There's different brands of supermarkets. There's like the low profile, low class supermarkets, looking very bad, looking empty. But if you go to the good neighborhoods, you go to those supermarkets, everything is filled with food, imported food at international prices. This is very important. You should know. Even though the people don't win so much money, the prices of food are just the same as in Mexico or United States or wherever, you know. So here, since the last 20th of August, when they changed the money, something weird happened. The Bolivar stopped dropping against the dollar. So what happened is that prices started rising in the terms of dollars. So if 3 months ago you would buy a huge pack of beers, let's say for $2, which you would pay maybe $20 in Miami, you will buy it here for $2. And then a month later, you will have to pay maybe $15 for your beers, all right? So we have inflation in terms of dollars because this economy was so deep down, right? And these new regulations like kind of helped it a little bit, but then made the inflation to go happening on terms of dollars because prices keep going up in terms of bolívares, and the bolivar against the dollar is stable, and then it means that it's more costly in dollars. So now we have inflation in terms of dollars in Venezuela. Very weird.
Yeah, I mean the situation is weird. We could say it's not something that most people want to be dealing with, obviously. On that note, do you see more interest in crypto? Are there more people mining? Are there more people? We hear from the Dash people. There's so many businesses using Dash. Do you see that?
Well, I might say, the other day I was with some guys and they told me this weird number. They said that 20% of all Bitcoin is being mined in Venezuela. I think it's a wild number. I would put the same face as yours. I say maybe 5%. I don't really know. What I can say is that there is a lot of people mining Venezuela to such a point that in this state called Zulia, which is in the border with Colombia, right? There's so many people mining that they're actually having big, bad electric problems. You know, because there's so many people mining, also in Caracas, here in Valencia. Like, people really love mining cryptocurrencies here in Venezuela, whether it's with Bitmain equipment like ASICs or with self-constructed rigs. People are mining a lot. And on the Dash question, I have to say, this community of Dash, they make a lot of, how can I say, advertisement, okay? They make a lot of advertisement on the social media and claiming, yeah, like we're #1 in Venezuela and like everybody has Dash and you can pay with Dash everywhere. That's not really actually 100% truth, okay? It's hard to find. You have to go to where you know that they are accepting Dash. It's not like 1,000 merchants are accepting Dash, not even 1,000. I would say maybe 500, and mostly in Caracas. I cannot speak bad about Dash because what these guys have done is bring awareness to the people. Okay, so it's a cool thing that they have done. They have given away a lot of money. allegedly more than $200,000 they have spent from the Dash money into doing stuff, like doing these meetups and like giving away some Dash and so on. So I would say it is renowned. The Dash community is important in Venezuela, but it's no way it's bigger than BTC. No way, impossible right now. Maybe in the future, if they keep pushing it, maybe, I don't know. At least they have good marketing strategy.
Exactly. They are the marketing.
Not as like nobody can trade Dash in Venezuela as you will trade Bitcoins. If I might add, with this part, did you know, guys, that Venezuela is the third largest by volume in crypto trading in local Bitcoins worldwide, only after United States and Russia, to such a point that this last week it was traded 1100 BTC, so 1,100 BTC in a week. This is like $6.8 million a week. So it's almost $1 million a day being traded on local Bitcoins, Bolivares against BTC. So you can say Venezuelan market is a huge market, because these people that are trading on local Bitcoins are people that like really need their BTC. It's not like they're trading on Bitfinex or Bitstamp just to make a quick buck or a profit or whatever. No, they're using it because they need it. Even if it's to import stuff, because you will take your Bolivares, buy Bitcoin, and with this Bitcoin, sell it for dollars on your Bank of America account, and then buy whatever you need to buy and bring it over. Right? Also, because we have a big Chinese community, if you go yourself and check on local Bitcoins Venezuelan market, you will see like there's so many Chinese guys on local Bitcoins on Venezuela with Venezuelan fiat currency and then selling it for yuans, for yenes, like Japanese, Chinese, and American dollars. The same guys are moving it here from there. So it's very useful still. This BTC in Venezuela, it's strong. It's very strong. It's so strong, if I might add, I want to share just for a quick moment. I would like to share my screen to show you this little thing here. Can you see this?
No, I can't. Can you guys?
No.
Can you see it?
Oh,
hold on. Here.
There you go. There. Well, there was something.
There you go. Can you see this? This is the volume on local Bitcoins. Can you see how it's rising to all-time highs, right? And then I will show you this one with the prices. This has been the prices. This is the price of Bitcoin in terms of Bolivares, right? You see how it's never ending the way uptrend. It has little downs, but mostly what's going on is that there is more people trying to buy BTC than people trying to sell BTC. So the price is always going up in Venezuela, no matter what.
This just shows you the people need it already. This is a use case in these countries, developing countries with financial problems. They need it. Yet here in the West, we become obsessed with Tether and it bringing down exchanges and stuff, and it has no use case, and people only trade it. So this is why I love to bring Gabriel on the show, because you're seeing these people need it. It's a whole different world down there, and it's huge volume. I mean, it's at least on local Bitcoins, comparable to Russia and America. I mean, it's amazing. There was a question for you in the super chat. And thank you, Colonel Swan Jr. Thanks for the $5. Is there an organization where I can send Bitcoin so people can have it and use it? That's for like, is there an organization in Venezuela he can send Bitcoin to so it can get distributed?
Well, I'm going to have to set one up, because I think we get this question every time we go up on your show.
Yeah.
Because people want to give, want to help. But as I said the time before, giving away money is not the way to help. All right. I understand what people, they want to help somehow, but they don't find a way how to do it. I think I'm going to have to set up some sort of, non-profitable organization for people to donate, and then make a follow-up on what happened with the money that they gave. Because, you know, if you just want to give away BTC randomly, you can just go on Venezuelan social media and try to find someone to give it to. But in the next months, I believe not only if I do it, but somebody else will do it. We'll put a cherish organization, you know, for people to give crypto, maybe not only BTC, to help Venezuelans.
Well, I will say
it's cool. It's a cool feeling, you know, but it has to be done properly.
Well, Dash is giving it away, sort of. I mean, they give it away if you come to their events, right? So
correct.
I mean, maybe if people can give Dash back, contact Dash people. I don't know. I want to also thank Andy Anderson. Thank you for the $2 in the super chat. He says, "Is this 3 Meister?" No, it's 3 Gabriels, but I can triplicate myself, I guess. All right, panel members, do you have any? Yes.
I had a quick question. I had a quick comment that I want to just jump in here about the petro. So first of all, I found that phrase I was looking for that Brockstream uses, and it's a really good phrase. It's attested assets, and what that means is that somebody attests, oh, you know, these worthless digital, you know, ledger numbers, totally, I swear they represent X and Y in my vault. So the petro is just yet another one of these attested assets because it's supposedly pegged to their, the government's ownership of the oil industry in Venezuela. So you're trusting the Venezuelan government. Now, let me repeat that phrase. Trusting the Venezuelan government that they're holding on to the oil, that they have the oil that they say they have, that they're moving around the oil that they say they're moving around when they're moving it around, and that their pegged asset is actually backed by X amount of oil that they're keeping off the market, that isn't in somebody else's giant oil tanker, that isn't already sold off to Russian oligarchs. This is another. It's just another way for the Venezuelan government to screw over the people. In my opinion, it's really transparent. There's no way to actually create this thing that's without any corruption, and to assume that the Venezuelan government, perhaps considered generally to be the most corrupt government on the entire planet right now, arguably the most corrupt of all, to think that their attestation is going to be worth anything at all is basically the height of stupidity, in my opinion. So this is all a huge scam, any attested asset is essentially a scam magnet in the age when we have intrinsically valued digital assets like Bitcoin, which require absolute provable work. It's the proof of work which creates new Bitcoin. Petros are created out of thin air, and they're going to be quote unquote backed, not really backed. They're attested. We promise, we swear, we have it. That's what the petro is. So just don't confuse a petro for something of actual value. It probably has none at all, and you're basically just trusting the word of yet another corrupt government.
Well, and it still doesn't exist yet either. Gabriel, you bring up some very excellent points there. And again, why people get governments are making their own cryptocurrencies now. There's a big trust factor in all this. And I don't think cryptocurrencies it's supposed to be about trusting governments again, recreating the dollar as a cryptocurrency. It's not anything I'm interested in. Hey, but personal responsibility is new counterculture. If people want to be interested in that type of thing, go right ahead. I'm sticking with the one, the only, the Bitcoin. Gabriel in Venezuela, any concluding thoughts about this, Petros?
Well, to what Gabriel said, and if I might add, he has a good point on that. And well, I should say, it's not only the Venezuelan government that is corrupt, also the Colombian government, Brazilian government, Mexican, United States, Spanish, you name it, okay? So all governments are corrupted, number one. To a degree, maybe each country has a different degree, and in some countries, maybe people don't find out, and some countries people do find out. Okay, I think that might be the first difference. On the second difference of what you're saying, it's a very philosophical term to think about the petro, because they say this oil is inside the earth still, okay? So it should only represent what's inside the earth. But at the same time, it shouldn't need to represent anything if the actual code and the crypto is actually well done. It shouldn't be needing this. But why is these people using the petroleum to back the petro? I will tell you, because Venezuelan government, the Venezuelan land is filled with oil. So it's the biggest oil reserves in the world so far. It's been proven. It's not bogus or crazy. It's been proven by very international, serious certificate companies. You know, so the oil is there. And what the Venezuelan government needs is to try to stabilize the economy that's been crippled by their own misdoings, of course. But now they need to have a stable place to start. And with the petro, that's what they're trying to do. I'm not saying that they will achieve that, but this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to use something instead of using the US dollar and still manage to have a stable price. You know, this is what they're trying to do. I don't know if they will do it correctly. I will never put my hands on fire for them. I'm not sure they will mess it up, actually. But the concept and the idea is not bad, okay? Because we have oil and we need something, a thing to exchange with other countries, and we can't use the dollar anymore because of US sanctions. So it's a war, dude. It's a war. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand they're trying to get around. They say they're trying to get around the sanctions. So we will see how this develops. Again, I just wait for the day when there actually is a petro out there, because it's very theoretical right now, and
very, yes, exactly,
very theoretical. And I agree. It's good that you and Gabriel Gabriel Divine agrees with you. Of course, all governments are corrupt. Yes, I mean that's. I think all of us on this panel can agree with that. We're not. That's why we got. At least that's why I'm in the Bitcoin business. I don't have to worry about
me too,
it.
Man.
Some government.
I'm more on the anarchist side. You know, for me, taxation is theft. You know,
Yes. Well,
like
actually,
the contract that we have with the government on all our countries it's very bad for us, the guys. You know, that the regular guys, because governments will not allow us to trade without their permission, or to buy or have certain things we have without their permission, and so on and so forth. So it's the big guy, the big government, always pushing the people everywhere. It's not only in Venezuela, also in the United States, in Mexico, wherever you go.
Yeah,
it's the same.
And there's a story this week. This is a good segue. In Britain, the unexplained wealth. A woman has been accused of having unexplained wealth. They want to know where she got her money from that allowed her to buy a house, and now they want to take her house. So I asked Gabriel in Chile, Fort Galt, Chile, what do you think about that? And it's another reminder to own something that's unconfiscatable, I guess.
It's fun timing because our most recent member to join us is from London, and she's been telling me all kinds of fun stories about how terrible things are getting over there. She owns a small apartment in London, which is pretty valuable, even though it's a shoebox. And right now she's just fed up with the whole city, the whole market, the whole culture there, and is looking to get out right away. So she's coming on down here to join us and, get in on the action here and just rent out her apartment in London, use that money to live on down here. And it seems like a growing trend. Our last member to join before her was from Germany with a very similar story. She moved down here with her 3 kids. So I think we can count on the more the government tightens its grip, as they say in Star Wars, the more people slip through its fingers.
Well, I got to say one thing about that. She owns an apartment in London and she's going to move down there. I would just sell that darn thing, turn it into Bitcoin, and then you have your wealth with you. You don't have to worry about some nonsense happening in London when you're not there any longer. I mean, they might make a law saying, oh, well, if you're no longer in the country and you're renting it out, the renter can have it now, or we can sell it and give the renter some of the money, and we, the government, can take some of the money. You know, as long as we're talking about Fort Galt right now, what's up with Fort Galt? Tell us what's going on down there.
Yeah, the foundation for the main residential complex is finished, and we're now proceeding with the framing. The weather's just starting to get straightened out down here. We were in the rainy season, and it's starting to clear up, so it's getting a lot more conducive for construction. Things will be swinging a lot faster now. This summer should be ridiculously active compared to previous years, and by the end of it, the main building should be done, and I'll be moved into it, as will the first movers that have already bought in. And there's also land parcels that have been selling around it in the community area. So, you know, people will be moving down to start work on their houses. We've got one guy there right now swinging a hammer, building his first house. So that's fun to go and check on that every once in a while. But yeah, it's just one foot in front of the other. And in the background, I haven't been talking about it too much yet, but I'm also working on the seasteading project here. By good fortune, the water 13 miles off the coast of Fort Galt is only 250 feet deep. So that's excellent for anchoring things too. So we're working on a little barge project here. We've got a local shipyard that can produce flat platforms that can attach onto it. So that's another little thing we got working on in parallel.
Whoa, pound that like button for freaking seasteading. I had no idea about that you were going to venture into that. That's a big one. Real quick though, for those people who don't know what Fort Galt is, quickly explain what it is, but some people don't even know. You know.
It's just another gated community. Keep moving. No, that's what we tell people who automatically assume that it's something weird and crazy. But it's really just a community of entrepreneurs. We attract a lot of people that work online who are not location dependent, you know, digital nomads, that kind of people. And also people that have already kind of run a business and maybe they're ready to retire and they want a place to settle down. It's all over the age range. Our youngest members are in their 20s, the oldest ones in their 60s. And it's just sort of a libertarian-minded sort of environment, you know. We're not looking to, you know, micromanage every blade of grass on your lawn, that kind of deal. We're not looking to subsidize a golf course that only 2 people use. So it's just a community, the kind of place that I've always wanted to live in. And I was originally attracted to Chile because something like that was started, but it fell apart because it turned out to be a scam. And rather than going back to Canada, I figured, well, why not just do it right? You know, like it's not that complicated.
Yeah, it was a scam, just like the Shemitah. How coincidental. Exactly. Yeah, it was exactly a scam like the Shemitahs, for those of people who want to think a little bit and understand what it was. Anyway, continue. Sorry about that. No, but it's crypto friendly down there. I love what you're doing. And I gotta say about Chile, there is a certain freedom in the air. Like people really don't bug you. You know, you do see cops walking around Santiago, but then, you know, in the market, you know, there's a huge market, and then you see women are outside the market that have bought things in the market, and they're just selling it outside the market. No one's stopping them. In the United States, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, yeah, and even the police presence is not something that makes me feel negatively. Like in the US or Canada even, like as soon as we see a cop, there's just this knee-jerk reaction. It's like, oh my God, well, let's make sure I don't smell like weed or something. But down here, it's like, it's actually a welcoming sight to see a cop. They're friendly, they present themselves well, they're not out to screw with you. Like if they stop you and with your car, like I just met a Frenchman who's been down here for 10 years and he's never bothered to get a driver's license because it's not a big deal to just pay a fine for not having a license and be on your merry way.
Yeah, the guys, the cops here don't seem to be very power hungry. They're just they're walking around. You know, I'm all, as a guy who grew up in America and everything, I always do have a reaction like you, like what am I doing wrong? I don't want to call attention to myself from these guys, because cops can be just so in the United States it's real bad. It seems like they're always looking for. I don't want to make generalizations, but I'm just saying here it's much more laid back. It's much more laid back.
And I mean, this is a controversial position to hold down here, but half the country still agrees with me. the military, who are sort of a stopgap against communism. Because there have been times in this country's history where the communists have actually taken power, and it's been the police and the military that threw them out.
Interesting. This is a good point. Hey, Gabriel Devine, any thoughts on this before we move on to talk about the Liquid network that you have insight on?
About the Galt project?
Anything. It's been a while since you spoke. We talked about a million things since last time. Yeah.
No, I don't got nothing to say. That's pretty cool, man. Sounds like a cool thing. I'm glad that you. I knew about that project sort of failing and the like scamming or whatever that went on. That's pretty awesome that you like were maybe tangentially or somehow involved in that and decided to like do it right yourself. I really respect that. That's awesome.
Thanks.
A resurrection of sorts, a recreation. All right, so we got, obviously, Venezuelans need the freaking crypto, okay? And at the same time, we've had a story this week about a technical innovation that people have been waiting for on top of Bitcoin for a while. And this is a very positive story, but yet we hear about, why did the price go down $200? No, so what's up with this Liquid network thing? It actually deals with exchanges a little bit, from what I gather, Gabriel. Gabriel Devine.
Yeah. So I'm surprised we haven't had any more issues with the name on this show, this particular episode. You know, it's interesting to see this project actually finally come to fruition. I'm not surprised that that it did. Blockstream has a way of has a reputation for delivering, but to compare it to, well, one of the articles that you sent me, actually, somebody compared it to Lightning Network. And actually, that's probably because Blockstream included a blurb on their FAQ for the Liquid sidechain project because I guess they got the question all like, hey, how is this different from Lightning Network? It's really unrelated to Lightning, totally unrelated, and really shouldn't even be mentioned. But I just wanted to point that out, that there's not really much relation. They're not related at all. The Liquid sidechain is this project that Blockstream worked on for a long time. I think there were quite a number of technical hurdles to overcome in the design phase, where they needed to come up with some of the federated consensus algorithms and how that would work with the pegging. So basically, what a sidechain is a separate blockchain for which you can provably send and receive, to which you can provably send and receive Bitcoin. That's called a two-way peg. In other words, a liquid Bitcoin can be exchanged one-to-one for a real Bitcoin and doesn't require that much trust. But that is a point of contention that I'll return to. So that's what a sidechain is. The Liquid sidechain is this project that was created by Blockstream a couple of years ago, I believe, is when they announced it. And they've been working on it since, and it launched last month. Really cool. So basically what this is they market it to exchanges so that the exchanges can have finality in settlement in a single, very consistently in 60 seconds. And so in the Bitcoin network, it's approximate. The blocks are solved. It's a semi-random process. So miners will find a block approximately every 9 or 10 minutes, but actually, it could take up to an hour or even two, rarely. So in this case, the Liquid sidechain has a 60-second timer where the new blocks, come in. There's no mining. It's just all the different exchanges each run a server. That's what the federation means. So basically there's, say, I guess it's like 20 participants or whatever it is, and the trust is shared among all these 20 servers. Can you guys hear me okay? Is everything cool?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So so basically, it's essentially this collaboration between all the participants on a separate blockchain that's pegged one-to-one with the Bitcoin real blockchain. And it allows them to move large amounts of blockchain, large amounts of Bitcoin back and forth quickly, and just as a convenience matter. Otherwise, you would have to, one exchange needs extra liquidity from the other exchange that has plenty of Bitcoin to sell, but they would need to do it on the Bitcoin blockchain, which, in order to trust for a large transaction, you ideally want to wait several blocks, like say 6. So then you're looking at approximately an hour, and even that could easily go to 2 hours on a given day. So and that means that they're losing money in the meantime. They can't do trades. There's a lack of liquidity. They can't they can't give they can't send Bitcoin out to Bitcoin requests to users and things. So this is kind of a project that was created in order to alleviate this issue of quick liquidity transfers among Bitcoin exchanges, so that they can send crypto back and forth. And I would say that J.W. Weatherman did some research onto federated projects, and I think he made a really good case to convince me that federation is basically one step less centralized than just somebody's server in their backyard. So that's cool, though. As far as I'm concerned, there's a huge stretch between pure centralization and Bitcoin. I won't say pure decentralization because that's an abstract, but Bitcoin is definitely the most decentralized project in existence on Earth. And
well, I think one thing about this, be it centralized and everything, it's cool that something is being built on top of the Bitcoin network that is very useful to a market, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, what else is going to be built? Okay, so
right, that's what I'm saying. There's a whole spectrum of Bitcoin to pure centralization that will get filled in by various things. It's really cool, and we're kind of like 1 to 1.5 steps less centralized than somebody's backyard server, which is a really great thing. That's a big improvement, right? I mean, it's not halfway to Bitcoin or anything, but it's a better process. It's not likely that there's going to be any disasters with it, in my opinion. They've done a lot of research. It took 2 years, I think, or so to develop this thing. So it's a pretty serious project. And, the exchanges certainly aren't motivated to, pull off any fraud. Certainly, if there's any shenanigans with key signing and things like that, you could have issues. But that's something outside of the liquid sidechain itself. So it's great to see, in general, it's great to see a sidechain come online. This is a federated sidechain. There's other sidechain projects out there. There's DriveChain from Paul Stortz, which I believe it actually requires some additions to the Bitcoin protocol, which are semi-controversial, so that might not ever actually get off the ground. Whereas this is totally based on the Bitcoin of today. It's running right now, and they're using it, so that's great. It's something to like Tether. Liquid is a tool that's meant to facilitate trade on top of Bitcoin, and like you said, it's something that's built directly on top of Bitcoin. There's so many more projects that's something that it does have in common with Lightning Network, which is far more decentralized. I would say it's completely decentralized, actually, or as decentralized as Bitcoin itself. That's something that's a protocol that's built on top of Bitcoin. So there will be more sidechains. There will be there are already other proposals for different types of networks on top of Bitcoin, like Lightning. There's other proposals for sidechains, and then there's unknown ones, as you pointed out. I mean, OpenBazaar is built directly on top of Bitcoin, and that's a moderately decentralized system or ecosystem right there. So it is exciting in that sense. I agree.
Yeah, it's just again, there are a lot of people out there who say, well, what does Bitcoin do? And they're just not patient. Be patient, people. There's a lot of smart people working on this, creating awesome things. I mean, it's just like if you were in the internet in 1995 and you said, oh, well, there's nothing. I mean, be patient. People created some awesome things on top of it. Gabriel in Venezuela, you've been silent for a while. You have anything to add to all of this liquid sidechain stuff or anything you want to mention?
Well, if I might add, I think it's pretty cool what they're trying to do. I hope it works, but for the moment, I have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yes, as a dude that has worked with exchanges, You know about that kind of thing. Send the money back and forth and everything. All right, let's move to what this is going to be my last story before everybody gives their stories of the week. But I really love this article from Multicoin Capital that gave a theory on how Bitcoin or cryptocurrency could be one day have a market cap of $100 trillion. Now, again, I value my wealth in Bitcoin, of course, but if you just get yourself into that mindset, into that multi-trillion, that this is going to change. It's like a flippening, an economic worldwide flippening into crypto to create this. Even if it just got up to 10 trillion in market value. I mean, we're talking market cap. We're talking about like earth-shattering type of future here, and it just shows you like why not put your toe into cryptocurrency? Why not put it into Bitcoin? The potential is just tremendous. This was a well-written article that gives logical reasons why it could, the entire cryptocurrency market could be worth $100 trillion, and that's a tremendous number. It's just something we can't even really fathom, because I mean right now, like, worldwide wealth is only worth like over $250 billion, which is 250 trillion. I mean, $250 billion. Wow, we're talking big numbers here. Anyway, panel guests, do you have anything to say about the potential of one day cryptocurrencies market capitalization being $100 trillion?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, I don't agree that there was a very well-written article. I think it was sloppy, but he might not be a native speaker, in which case that's excusable. My second problem with the article is the multi-coin approach, which isn't a surprise from Multicoin Capital. I don't believe that there will be a bunch of really successful, huge ecosystems kind of sharing the space. That's not how currencies work. That's not how that's not how money works. Currencies are artificially constrained by geography, but money is not, and we saw that in the 19th century. Over the decades of the 19th century, gradually silver lost its monetaristic value, and in the 1870s that was final, and China and Mexico paid a huge price for trying to maintain a silver peg, trying to maintain silver as a monetary asset. By the 1870s, it was over, and they had lost a huge amount. They never should have done that. They should have transitioned to they should have been looking for, put all that money into R&D for new silver-based technologies in the late 19th century, whatever those might be. In any case, so that's something I really disagree with. That I think that in any of these systems that that have a tokenized setup, they might succeed. In my opinion, they will form what you might call commodity ecosystems. This is how I think that the token fate will mature. There will be there could be these once again, commodity-based token systems. Like, for example, a MaidSafe. I talk about MaidSafe a lot. They are kind of centralized because they have an issuance schedule where the company that's creating is going to get the money. So it could conceivably turn out to be a scam. I like the tech that they're doing and think that it might actually work. I don't know. I'm not. It's not like I have a big investment or anything like that. I just, I think I have $70 worth of MaidSafe coin. But in any case, something like if MaidSafe were to work, that system could have their safe coin, which is a non-blockchain crypto token, could be like the representative token for a decentralized internet project. And so that would be like a commodity system, but no single commodity, even a commodity for smart contracts or for the internet itself, none of them could possibly compete with money as a base commodity. Money is a far larger market, and digital money that has very, very sophisticated capabilities like Bitcoin already does. I mean, Bitcoin's capabilities, we've only barely scratched the surface. It already has maybe 100 times more potential in its current form than is actually being leveraged in the ecosystem and in the market. So the power of digital money, the power of any money in any market is far greater than any given commodity. So that's something about in the article that he kind of touched on a bit that I agree with. It's just that I think Bitcoin is going to be taking over the bulk of that. In other words, 99% or whatever, 98% of that value. Given and now regarding the 100 trillion market cap, I think that is conservative, which is a really good approach for this particular article since they have investors and everything. So yeah, I think it's totally believable. A 100 trillion market cap divided by 20 million Bitcoins gives us a $4.7 million Bitcoin price. I think it's totally believable. I priced my eventual 2013 USD value for like a sort of top of the S curve price for Bitcoin. 5 years ago, I priced it at 3.5 million. I think 4.5 is conservative these days. I'm thinking more like a 10 million 2018 dollar value per Bitcoin this century. I won't say when. I would say minimum 8 years, probably as much as 50 to 60. At the top of that S curve. It could be a long process. So that's my take on the eventual sort of stable price of Bitcoin.
Long-term thinking there, people. We could be talking about 2076, but still have a strong hand. Hang on, you'll be loving life in 2076 if you got yourself a Bitcoin. Other panel members, what do you think about that trillion? 100 trillion, 10. I mean, I'll be happy with 10 trillion. I don't give a darn. I mean, I value my wealth in Bitcoin, but what do you guys think about that?
Okay, if I might say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Gabriel on the possibility of being reached the 100 trillion market cap, but I don't agree on the 100% or 99% supremacy of BTC over all the other cryptos. I think each crypto will develop like its own niche or its own place to be. I believe Bitcoin will be bigger than the others, but I think this competition is good for Bitcoin. Okay, it's good for the ecosystem to have different teams developing, doing technology, doing software to make a world a better place and to keep the government's hands out of our pockets. So I think in the long run, Bitcoin will be worth a lot, and there will be many marvelous projects about other cryptos that are being done that will be successful as well.
I don't know about how many. I think there will be other survivors, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, because right now we got way too many. But I mean, I don't.
If you compare it to fiat, if you make a comparison, the main fiat currencies are US dollar, British pound, Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, right, and euro. It's five coins, right?
This
so
is
maybe
not a valid
in the
comparison.
future we will have maybe five different cryptocurrencies that are mainly adopted.
I don't think that. I mean, there are arguments for your point about. Like you said, there will maybe communities will have their, crypto monies that they prefer. But comparing it to the current fiat situation, I don't think that's a relevant argument at all in this case, because those are, obviously monopolies that are held by force through coercion via, what's it called? The laws, legal tender laws, which force people by violence to use the currency. So that, and it's geographically based too. So then this is the internet, of course. So I think there are arguments for your case, but that's not one of them.
Okay.
Gabriel in Chile, any thoughts on this?
Well, in the absence of a perfect monopoly, a lot of competition is good because they spur each other on to become better. But I also kind of like Peter Thiel's approach to this, where, it's like the ideal situation is where you do have a monopoly that's perfect, that solves all the problems and serves you the best because it is that good and everyone voluntarily wants to use it. But we don't really have that yet. I mean, Bitcoin, theoretically could become that someday, maybe, but it's definitely not there yet. And in the absence of that perfection, it's great to have all these other competitors, you know, addressing its shortcomings.
All right, now speaking of competitors, we actually have a question, $5 super chat from Javier Suarez. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but be my guest, you three guys. Thoughts on mobile-to-mobile shielded transactions on Zcash after sapling upgrade on October 28th?
I know nothing about that, but I do want to say, that I think Zcash is a scam. I think that the way that the project started is completely so smelly and fishy. But I also want to say, Gabriel Janitz, your shirt is awesome, and I'm kind of known for my cool shirts occasionally. I know some people hate them maybe, but I really love yours.
Yeah, Venezuela, show your shirt off there. Unmute yourself and talk so everyone can see it. Wait. Unmute. All right, let's see. What is this thing?
It's very soft. It's very soft fabric. It's very nice. Thank you.
All right. So Zcash, dude, Javier, value your wealth in Bitcoin, man. I wouldn't be speculating on the Zcash too much there. Sorry, couldn't get you a more in-depth answer there.
Javier, Zcash is security theater, as far as I can tell. I don't know any details about this sapling upgrade. Any crypto that has upgrades instead of releases is centralized and at risk.
Ooh, yeah. I saw a tweet about that recently. Okay, let's get out our final stories of the week from everyone. First of all, Gabriel down at Fort Galt, you were telling me about I think I'm telling you what your story of the week should be, but that Facebook thing you were telling me, that was a good thing off the air you're telling me about.
Yeah, I just noticed yesterday, I guess, Facebook took down hundreds. I've seen some reports saying like 800 liberty-oriented Facebook pages. Some of them are really big, like the Anti-Media and V is for Voluntary and Punk Rock Libertarians. And anyway, tons of these pages with huge followings were all taken down simultaneously. So, of course, that kind of reignites the whole discussion about alternative social media platforms and alternatives to YouTube and things like that. So we can look at some of the blockchain-based applications that address that. And one of them that I've been liking recently is BitTube. It seems to be one of the better potential replacements or competitors to YouTube. And it's got its own crypto and seems to be doing pretty well so far. So I'm keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, and there have been some people like, Adam, you got to get on BitTube. I'm working on it, dude. So there's one dude in the comment section that reminds me. And look, now we got a guest talking about it too. So more pressure is being put on about that Facebook Facebook shutting down all those people. Again, all those people should have been prepared for this, because this shouldn't be a surprise at all. And they should have a crypto alternative in their back pocket, or at least have a Bitcoin address where people can send them Bitcoin for times like these. Again, don't be reliant on PayPal and these other merchant processors that can shut you down. Always have your Bitcoin address listed prominently, whoever you are, Mr. Content Producer out there. Gabriel Divine, your thoughts on that, or your story of the week? Anything you want to add?
I have been traveling a bit and occasionally seen a Bitcoin logo on cafes and stores, so that's pretty cool. I'm outside the U.S. and it's nice to see that. Also been really stoked on internet access in various places. Just seeing that it's kind of ubiquitous in cities, internet cafes, free internet in libraries, free Wi-Fi in your restaurant. Everybody's got it. Everybody knows what it is. This is a wonderful situation for the world in general to have these connections. It's not that expensive, a little cheaper than the US, I'm finding, to get a broadband connection. That's a real serious thing. It's really great to see. I mean, 10 years ago, it was pretty spotty in a lot of countries that you might consider to be sort of more shaky first world or second world countries back in the day. And that situation is changing quick, not to mention mobile 3G, even 4G, LTE access traveling around is really good. And everybody's kind of, you know, there's like, you know, everyday people walking around, construction workers with smartphones, you know. This is a serious situation. It feels like a real tipping point for just the world to be online, and it's a fertile ground, you know, like a gasoline-soaked rag that the spark of Bitcoin is just about to hit. So it's pretty cool. I just kind of a little bit of a general tech update on the world for people that are stuck in their bubble.
Digital nomads, pound that freaking like button, baby. It is becoming easier for us. All right. I like that comparison with the fire. That's good. All right, Gabriel in Venezuela, you're gonna tie it all up today. So
okay, thank you guys for having me here. If I might say my final words, I think being Venezuelan, I see on the streets and I feel that there is many tokens because they write to me. There's many tokens trying to do something here. For instance, IOTA and Digibyte and like so many other coins like Dash and some similar, that they are really trying to do a big effort into getting famous within the Venezuelan population. Because these guys know that this is the perfect test ground or experimental ground. So all the guys outside of Venezuela, when they look this way, they think in their heads, if we succeed in Venezuela, we can succeed worldwide. If we become famous in Venezuela and people start writing articles about us being famous there, then maybe people in Europe, in Asia, or somewhere, they will look at us and buy our coin and they will be famous. You know, I feel there's a lot of that. I think that's good for the Venezuelan people, and in the long run will be very good also for the whole world, because as coins and developers try to promote their coins here, they just make Bitcoin more famous, okay? So I think it's good.
Yes. Okay, that is a good conclusionary remark there. And yeah, if you can make it in Venezuela, you can make it anywhere, they're trying to say. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you, the three Gabriels, for this unprecedented event. You guys rocked it. Remember, This Week in Bitcoin is on. There's construction out there too. This Week in Bitcoin is on every Friday. You can check out all the This Week in Bitcoin shows. I've archived them at techbalt.com, TECHBALT.com. That's also my Twitter handle, TechBalt, TECHBALT. I'm Bitcoin Meister on Steemit. Pound that freaking like button. I do a new show here every day of the week. Saturdays are the Beyond Bitcoin shows, so I'll see you guys Saturday night. But again, thank you, all the viewers. Thank you, Gabriels. Pound that like button. I'm Adam Meister. I'll see you guys later. Shabbat shalom. Bye-bye.
The three